Pool 1. And Pool 1 is our pool, which makes us more excited to talk about it. Leinster and Toulouse. And
Absolutely.
I say our because it is our. It belonged to both of us, and it definitely didn't belong to the English contingent in it.
No.
But yeah, it's the story of it has really been that resurgent Toulouse side putting it up to, because otherwise Leinster were heavily favoured going into this tournament. After Sarri's showing last year, there were people kind of writing them off pre-season, and Toulouse were no different. When Leinster went there was a kind of a disregard for the challenge that lay ahead, with all pundits and kind of ourselves included, just thinking that we expect Leinster to get the job done. But it hasn't been like that, and it meant that it was until the reverse fixture when the pool was really up for grabs. And then this weekend it was more about, like, there was no real consequence to either of those games apart from don't mess it up for both teams. And like, Leinster did that fine in their game. Toulouse played a little bit faster, and Toulouse played a dangerous game.
They did,
and they nearly got punished for it, but they didn't, and that was very, very professional of them. We were a pretty good showing against what is a difficult Bath team. Leinster played out what was one of the lower intensity encounters we've seen all weekend, and even in the whole pool stages, I think.
Yeah, it was certainly for a side with one of the top teams in it. Wasps never really threatened to win the game. Leinster were always just a little bit ahead of them. From a personal Leinster perspective, as one of the teams going in, it was nice to see, big performance from James Ryan, who I thought, he's not struggled, but he's been had it put up to him.
Yes, he was challenged more so than struggled by just a really a hefty defence on him. He's had 2 and 3 man coverage every time he's been against Toulouse anyway. And so it's just been harder for him to generate that go forward, but against Wasps there were ample opportunities to do so, and he did.
Yeah, and he played very well. I think he could have been man of the match. Sean Cronin for Leinster bagged a couple of tries off the back of mauls, but he was very good in the loose.
He tied top try scorer of the pool stages
with Jacob Stockdale. That's right.
6 apiece.
Yeah.
Go on, Nugget. I love it.
And Zebo nipping at their heels with 5.
Yeah, he can't stop scoring either.
All Irish.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true in class. The other Sean was Sean O'Brien. Great to see him back. It was not his most marauding kind of influence on a game. He did have a few soaked tackles, got driven backwards a few times in the contact, including for one try, for the Nathan Hughes try, was kind of carried over the line, but got through a big shift of work, made all his tackles, and that's just really good to see.
He did get bumped off one tackle for the Nathan Hughes try.
Did he get bumped off, or did he just soak? Well, like he went, one of those just passive tackles. It doesn't go down as a missed tackle stat, but it's like you didn't stop the try either. But I kind of forgive him some of that, just ease him back in.
Oh, sure.
I don't want him.
Nathan Hughes was definitely targeting his weaker shoulder for sure all game.
Yeah,
and it was good that he fronted up. He didn't seem to soften up out of any of it. Yeah, for this game, really the biggest talking point from it is just how good news it all was for Joe Schmidt. He got Robbie Henshaw and Sean O'Brien out. They put in good shifts. They stayed fit for the whole game.
Yeah.
And then you had the guys that Joe likes. Gary Ringrose looking very sharp. Sean Cronin looking very sharp. James Ryan looking very sharp.
Ross Byrne took a headshot and had to go off, but he'd be probably alright. But he did look a bit groggy.
He's missing this week anyway. He's got to do he failed the HIA, so he's to do the relevant protocols for that. But he wasn't in Joe's plans anyway. So
he's not in the short term. So a bit of rest time, probably not a bad thing.
Yeah,
he's been doing a lot.
Indeed. Yeah. And he also has Devin Toner back out.
Excellent.
And Sean Cronin looking good. So it was all good from Joe Schmidt's perspective. They weren't made to work for. It wasn't a high intense game, which was perfect for where the team want to be. For sure. Yeah. For where Wasps want to be, I don't know what that says about them. They just look completely deflated, and like you're saying, like Dai Young is absolutely whinging at every turn about, and even if it's tongue in cheek, and he can be quite witty. I wasn't pouncing on some of the sound bites the way some people were, but it is more just symptomatic of like the team can adopt the personality of the coach sometimes when that's happening, and especially a team of mercenaries essentially. So it just they don't look confident anytime they take the pitch, and the half empty Ricoh Stadium or Ricoh Arena looked dreadful really, and it's like I just don't know what's going on over there, to be honest. And there are good players, but there's no cohesion to it. And there were a few step-up performances, like Campagnaro looked decent, ball in hand, caused a few problems. Nathan Hughes got through a lot of work. He did.
I was bad-mouthing him before. I still don't fully rate him as like an answer, certainly in an England jersey. But he got them a lot of go forward when they needed it. It was just like littered with mistakes, though. Anytime they like sort of, you got the feeling that it was like, oh, that was a decent play from Wasps, and now with Leinster are sort of under pressure, and they'd just blow it before Leinster had the chance to spoil it or stop it.
And Leinster never really left third gear.
Second or third gear,
it was very much Leinster controlled everything that happened, and Wasps were quite passive in allowing that to happen.
Gibson Park was excellent at that. He was probably the difference maker. Some of those box kicks when you have Adam Byrne on the wing and you can just have that amount of hang time on it and just make him be there for when it comes down. Perfect, as well as a few kind of longer tactical ones that also worked. It was a really accomplished.
Shout out to Adam Byrne as well. He's had a great season and he's gone
after a rocky
to the Ireland squad in Portugal. Happy days.
He had a rocky start to it as well. He wasn't getting selected at the start of the season. He was turning up on Leinster A teams. He was just back from A teams, but he's kind of forced his way back in, which with a side that has James Lowe plus one other winger and Larmer doing all kinds of showy things and Rob Kearney doing classy things internationally. It's a tough side to get in on and a tough position to do.
He just got his opportunity. Like everyone gets a opportunity in Leinster, which I like, and when he got it, he took it. And he's so useful. He's such a good way especially for a team that likes to exit with a box kick.
Yeah,
you can trust that combination of Gibson Park and him was working beautifully. Gibson Park's box kicks have improved exponentially. I mean, the amount of airtime he's getting on the ball is sensational. Yeah,
he seems to have changed. It is a slightly more languid kind of Conor Murray-esque technique that he's going with this time as well. Like he used to be very snappy. A lot of similar to his passing style, it was snappy and it was like their trajectory wasn't quite as right. But it seems he's taking his time, trusting the pods in front of him to be blocking and give them that time to execute it properly, and paid due dividends, and it caused them all kinds of problems, and just Wasps had no answer really. Like the first half was a telling, crushing, kind of methodical but slow, but also just it was like a bully keeping a child at arm's length. Really, it was there was nothing doing.
From Wasps' perspective. I mean, I think we've covered them already a little bit on the show, but it's definitely fair to say that they don't seem to be going anywhere.
No,
but as a franchise, there doesn't I don't know who's running it. It's one of those, typical English teams that they're just floating in the wind. They don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah,
and they've moved to Coventry. It doesn't.
Someone made a lot of money out of that deal, but I don't know.
I'm no expert on what's going on at the grassroots, but it doesn't seem like they have any kind of grassroots presence in Coventry that's going to produce anything real.
Even their English representatives are mostly bought in as well. Yeah. Like it doesn't seem. Yeah, they're just spending a lot of money, and sure, maybe next season, Fekitoa could make all the difference.
It's just another retired or LaRue or one of these other bought-in players who could generate some short-term form, but nothing real.
Well, it's like one of these years that thing will work where someone assembles a team that is, yes, it's a bunch of mercenaries, but it's also got a good balance to it, that they play a decent style of rugby and they're all class players. Yeah, someone's going to do that in years gone by. It's not all, or years to come, it's not always going to be the academy system, but like for a club of that size, competing with giants trying the same idea, it's a very risky game to play when you'd be better off investing in the grassroots, growing the players.
Certainly if you want to build and maintain a club.
We want the kids in the area throwing rugby balls around, filtering through in and out of the club, having jerseys signed and all that, and it all seeds were planted then.
Some degree of long-term thinking.
As for that's what is, just to pivot back to Toulouse, that's what has got them back out of their funk. And it's curious. We were talking about watching Huget and Medar playing, and they're like the two veterans who've seen it all in Toulouse colours, where they were in that glorious team, that all-conquering European aristocrat of a team, and then they went through those doldrums where the team was playing a confusing mess of rugby, and there were imports in, imports out.
There's Luke McAllister's team, Census Johnson, those were the big name players,
and no discernible style that was other than that malaise that was the Top Couture for many years. It's actually Top Couture seems to have improved as a competition as well, for the inclusion of new teams like Racing, who are playing a more just a slightly quicker brand, so you do see slightly different pictures to games. But there was a problem for a few years of just the pace in the Top Tours being so slow and laboured that any time they got to Europe, they were blitzed by teams that really didn't have the same calibre of players, or something caught out by Pro 14 teams or some flashy mid-table kind of Premiership teams who also moved the ball a bit. So that hasn't ceased to happen for them, and it's been their academy, their young lads who are now, they have a few senior heads, Medar and Huget, who are struggling to keep up with some of the class players around them. They're not as fit, they're older, and they're in positions where pace is at a premium. So it's there are problems there, but there's just a lovely attachment that harkens back to those days of old, the way they play the rugby, the way they keep the ball alive, and even the players who are bought in are buying into that. And there are very few rucks in their ideal attacking sets, a lot of offloads in the tight, a lot of passes winged out, some crazy tries. That try they scored at the week, Dupont won. Like they played a messy kind of game.
They keep playing ball though. They keep playing ball. It's also worth noting, like they're obviously it's going to remain to be seen what happens going forward. They're going to have the big game against Racing, and they're going to go away for Six Nations. Lots going to happen between now and then.
A lot of their players
they've put themselves in a good position, and I'm curious to see what comes next from them. But they definitely picked their quarterfinal opponent.
They did. I mean, there's no even controversy about that. They shut up shop, and they very nearly got caught for it. Like it's such a dangerous thing to do on a rugby field, no matter who you are. Like that kind of 2 tries, grand. Yeah, sure, we'll stop playing now.
It wasn't even that for me, because I watched the game side by side with the Leinster game. I had it on the small screen, Leinster on the big screen, and it was the first half. They were motoring like they really wanted to win the game, and I was almost screaming because I didn't want to get them either. I wanted them to
happy for them to
So I was watching the game, and I was kind of going, slow down, what are they doing? They're being so silly. But what it must have been is they figured there's at least a non-zero chance of Leinster losing away from home against England, and we want to top the group.
Get to half time with 2 tries.
The word came in at half time. Leinster are 20-0 up. Boys, there's only one outcome here. If we get the 4 tries, we get to go to Dublin again, which is objectively the hardest fixture in Europe. Instead, let's go play a flashy team in Racing who throw the ball around a lot in an enclosed arena with not the best atmosphere, but great pitch and perfect conditions to play rugby, where we know we'll be able to run around.
We know the team better as well. It's a less daunting because it's just a less regular challenge that they have to go to Dublin, and they got a taste of it this year and it didn't go their way, so there's no sense repeating it.
So they were wise, and they were correct to do that. They picked, and they didn't want to lose the game either, because that got them Saracens away, so they had to
there's a
stay in that healthy mix. It was like Dash in The Incredibles when he was running that race.
Close, make it close, second. Yes. Exactly. Guy next to him looking, what? It was an impressive performance at that though, because it's good to see a team that are that flashy and that kind of excel in that broken, chaotic play. For them to be able to ease up and still be stronger than a Bath team that are physical. And that are more like, they put up more of a challenge than certainly their Wasps.
Bath are like, they're lacking in confidence. They're lacking in a bit of direction. They're lacking certainly in big match pedigree and big moments. But mostly for me, it's confidence and just a willingness to do things with the ball more.
Style of play is wrong. Like that's what I was harkening on that pitch, because I do think it's an issue. Like if they're training or playing or expecting to play home games, which is going to be like close to 50% of your fixtures on that quagmire, and then to have to go to a place where the pitch plays perfectly or close to, it's like you're not training right for the right kind of game that's going to come up.
What they can do is defend and attack the breakdown and be awkward,
be dogged and be physical,
and tough teams struggle with them a lot more than a lot of other English teams. So
for sure,
they have reasons to be positive and things to build on ahead of next season.
It feels like they have a squad that and a club that's stronger, in a stronger place certainly than Wasps. Wasps seems like a bit more of a mess. Like Bath, the grassroots is there. It's a smaller club, but than the likes of a Leinster, which is a big juggernaut. But it's still the appreciation is there. The fans still turn out. The personnel are good. Like the team there.
Don't know about the coach Blackadder.
Blackadder. There are like those little question marks all around, and that's shaking the confidence. And they're just not playing right at all, to be honest. And they didn't deserve. They're not worthy of a place in the top 8 in Europe this year, and that's okay. They still have a lot of work to do in the Premiership as well, because that's an absolute mess.
The upshot though, Leinster and Toulouse through, and Leinster looking good.
The right 2 teams, 4 stars. That means that there are 8 stars now coming from our group.
Indeed. It was a good little try from Leinster at the very death. Noel Reid's try.
Yes, the 4 tries are always the pretty ones.
After
Maul tries
scored by all of those B players who was struggling last year, and perhaps serves as a little bit of evidence, positive evidence for the faith that was put in them last year when they were struggling a bit, because now there's real depth.
And there were definitely times last year where I was being a bit less forgiving from my seat in the stand watching it not work, but you're right. It was lovely carries inside ball to Noel Reid from Rory O'Loughlin, great stuff,
and Max
Deegan in the middle of it, breaking it up. Cian Healy off the bench with some monster carries as well. Like that's an asset that I can understand Di Young's expression when he's watching that with Cian Healy with number 17 on his jersey, like marauding through his boys, and you're like, yes,
well of course, whatever.
But that was pool 1, and it means Leinster top at 25 points. Decent haul considering he lost in Toulouse. The only bonus point failed to acquire was in Bath, where that
That's
pitch
right.
played a part. Toulouse minded themselves very well. They'll be looking forward to a date with Racing, and I'd back them to sort of do it. It's hard to look, but home advantage is an advantage at this point, so maybe it won't quite work. But I quietly think that they could be the team to derail that Racing team, because they can play that game and defend.
Yeah, totally.
They're more competent defenders than Racing are at the moment, for sure.
They need to a repeat of that performance against Leinster in Toulouse. That's the game they want to, that level of aggression in defence and that level of intelligence in attacking certain players. Racing, while they did defend Leinster very well in those narrow carries, Racing are a different kind of threat because they offload so much more. So you have to trap the offload. You have to be clever about it. But I give them the chance to do that.
Definitely
for sure.
a chance. It's a competitive fixture, and it's a good one.
Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you want to subscribe, there should be a button up here. Don't forget to give us a like and share with your friends, and please leave comments down below. We love the conversation. Thanks.